Welcome to part 5 of Rebooking NXT in 2020. This time, the Cruiserweight division. So, what exactly would I have done differently in the Cruiserweight division? Honestly, the way it started, it was honestly pretty good, I would say. So, I can't really complain about it. Um, with that said, there wasn't any credible matches to do. Like, how many times did we saw Santos Escobar versus Isaiah Swerve Scott? How many times did we see like how like we needed more credible names in that cruiserweight division. Sometimes it just felt like a jobber fest of jobber fest after jobber fest. And Santos Escobar, it really hurt him as a cruiserweight champion because hell, does anyone even remember how he lost it? That's right, he lost it to Kushida out of just pure randomness. He beat Jordan Devlin, and then the next NXT, boom, takes the belt off of him. It's just like, what the fuck just happened? What the hell just happened? So we're not doing that. We are going to book this like a legit thing. So what would I've done differently? Um, we'll start off first of all by saying that 205 Live is canceled. It's done. Following like the go home to SmackDown at WrestleMania 36. Uh, the cruiserweight division, that's the last ever 205 Live ever. They do like a big special, like goodbye to 205 Live, and then we move on. And Jordan Devlin unfortunately cannot defend the NXT Championship due to travel constraints, so they do a G1 tournament style. And the main storyline was Drake Maverick wanting to stay. The only thing I would change from this tournament was probably change some of the names involved, like Jake Atlas. That didn't sound like a credible name. I would have put Chad Gable, honestly, and then Akira Tozawa was doing fine on Raw. I would have put like maybe Drew Gulak instead, or even Grand Metalik, whatever. But I would have put different names involved in this. So that's pretty much what I would do. But the result will still be El El Hijo del Fantasma versus Drake Maverick. Uh, Winner gets the cruiserweight belt. Um, would I have done it at NXT Takeover in your house? Maybe. I was thinking about it, but I was like, nah, it was fine on TV. And then Drake Maverick gets his big moment where he signs the contract. That was a good storyline. It was a good heartfelt moment, and yeah. And then afterwards, it's announced that, or the following week, El Hijo del Fantasma gets unmasked. We turn him heel. Um, he goes after Drake Maverick. They have a rematch for the Cruiserweight Championship yet again. And this time, Santos Escobar. Now that he's wrestling as Santos Escobar, we see a different style than he did with when he was El Hijo del Fantasma. No like high flying moves, just more of like more brutal type of cruiserweight. So Santos Escobar wins, and then they do. He's constantly having great matches with guys like Tyler Breeze, Kushida, um, even like bringing guys like Humberto Carrillo or even Chad Gable. Like those would be some top-notch cruiserweight championship matches. And he's just on a running tear after every cruiserweight. And then Isaiah Swerve Scott, like after he had a great match with Johnny Gargano at the Great American Bash, he wants a shot at the Cruiserweight Championship, proving that he is once again one of the top players. And we basically do this match throughout, or we basically build this up throughout the fall, and it'll eventually culminate at NXT Takeover Halloween. Now, Santos Escobar and Isaiah Swerve Scott do get a match, but thanks to Los Legados del Fantasma, Santos Escobar retains, and then at NXT Takeover Halloween, where we'll do the match, the rematch. Um, they spin the wheel. What is the match going to be? And it says contender's choice. So there's a champion's choice option and contender's choice. So Isaiah Swerve Scott gets to pick the stipulation, and he says, honestly, a regular one-on-one match is fine. Just take the Legados del Fantasma out of the match. So now we have to prove that Santos Escobar is a credible competitor on his own. We do the painting of Dia de los Muertos because that was awesome. And yeah, they're officially on a takeover, the Cruiserweights, and well deserved, and they have a kick-ass match. But part of the reason why they're in takeovers is because of the finale, which we'll get to in a bit. Now, before I start any continuing, I'm going to rebook the main roster for a bit. Around October, like late September, early October, um, Cedric Alexander turns on Ricochet and joins the Hurt Business. I would make at Hell in a Cell, the pay-per-view Hell in a Cell. I would do Cedric Alexander versus Ricochet. Loser leaves town match, and Ricochet loses because Cedric Alexander beat him, and Ricochet is out of Raw. And you're thinking he might go to SmackDown? Nope. Now Hell in a Cell 2020 took place in like October 16, 17, or 18, one of those dates. And this takeover Halloween, this would have taken place on Halloween itself because it's on a Saturday, 2020. And anyways, after the match, Santos Escobar beats Isaiah Swerve Scott. He talks about how no one could beat him, and then the lights go out, and then you hear dun 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 dun, and then Ricochet comes out. Ricochet returns to NXT, and they just have a stare down. Ricochet and Santos Escobar have a stare down, and basically this is who we're building up. Ricochet has a couple of kick-ass cruiserweight matches just to prove what kind of superstar he is. Ricochet is on top, and it's settled that sooner or later they're gonna do Santos Escobar versus Ricochet, and the winner, you guessed it, Ricochet. Ricochet is your brand new cruiserweight champion because honestly, the cruiserweight division could use a baby face like Ricochet. And around this time, this is when Jordan Devlin is allowed to travel back to the U.S. And then we do a mini feud with these three competitors. We won't do it at NXT Takeover the New Year. That you think that's what you're getting, but no, because we already have a triple threat with Gargano, Isaiah Swerve Scott, and Damian Priest. So we're going to do it later down the road, and we'll even make it a ladder match, a televised ladder match with Ricochet, Devlin, and Santos Escobar. Take my money, and Ricochet retains. I want to say that like because I pushed Isaiah Swerve Scott at the Great American Bash and did all this with him, it makes sense for him to be the North American champion, and it makes sense why Johnny Gargano screwed him over now because Johnny Gargano knows he could beat Swerve Scott. He knows he can't beat Priest, so it makes more sense in the long run why I connected it the way I did. Anyways, Ricochet is on a tear. He continues on having great matches, but the cruiserweight division is kind of pissed because they still have yet to have a takeover match. The last time they had a takeover match was at Halloween, and they don't even have a takeover match at Stand and Deliver. But Ricochet is on a rare tear, just going guys with like I keep saying his name, but I keep saying Kushida. But I mean Ricochet and Kushida. I mean who would hate that? But anyways, Ricochet is continuing to have all these classic matches, but we still don't have that legit match that will put Ricochet to the moon, and that is when Ricochet says, I want at NXT TakeOver Las Vegas, I want the man who made me into a star, had one of the greatest matches of my entire career, maybe the greatest match of my career. I want Johnny Gargano at NXT TakeOver Las Vegas. Around this time, Johnny Gargano is depressed. He lost the North American Championship. He's not sure if he wants to be as cynical as possible. And Johnny Gargano, at first, he says, like, no, this cruiserweight is not for me. I've just been beaten down. And Ricochet is just begging for this match, begging and begging. And Johnny Gargano realizes, yes, you know what? Fine, I'll face you. And Johnny Gargano and Ricochet face at NXT TakeOver Las Vegas, where Johnny Gargano will beat Ricochet in a different style of match. We don't want to do the same match that we got at TakeOver Phoenix. So it's a more like even Steven, like babyface versus babyface, where Johnny Gargano will win. At the end, Ricochet and Johnny Gargano will shake hands, and Ricochet moves on to the main roster. If you're wondering what happens to Santos Escobar, he moves on to the North American Championship picture where he'll feud with Bronson Reed, who does not get fired in this rebooking. So now Johnny Gargano is the Cruiserweight champion. He's a babyface. He is just over, and he's just having top notch matches with all these legendary names. And eventually, he'll drop it to one of the top heels. I've suggested Drew Gulak. I've suggested Pete Dunne. Or I've suggested a new person that WWE might end up hiring in the long run. So, anyways, Johnny Gargano will drop it to a top heel, and then that top heel will drop it to Kushida, who will finally be the Cruiserweight champion. I've been building up Kushida when he will eventually get his big breaking point, and the more you wait and the more you evolve a character, the better he gets, and the better that moment is when he eventually does become the cruiserweight champion. And that is what the cruiserweight division needed. It needed some top level talent to hold that belt to give it more prestige. So really, it only was Jordan Devlin, Santos Escobar, Ricochet, Johnny Gargano, and insert heel here, Drew Gulak. Let's just say Drew Gulak for now, and then Kushida. So we have some established names holding that cruiserweight championship instead of just giving it to people at random, and you give people credible storylines for the reasoning for these matches. So what do you guys think? I built up some new stars in the process. I know it's the shortest one, the shortest rebooking of NXT in 2020, but I mean, what can you do? It was a fun one for me. Still, I enjoyed it. But part 6, we're going too sweet. Part 6, we're going on to Prince Finn Balor.